What's going on YouTube? Welcome to my channel. My name is James. For today, we'll basically just be solving one hard SQL problem from LeetCode. Today's problem is a hard SQL problem from LeetCode and it's called trips and users. This is definitely a really good problem, especially if you're trying to practice some of your hard or advanced SQL. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so I'm going to read out the problem because definitely before we solve the problem, you must obviously, it's the first crucial step is to read the problem so that you can fully understand what you're trying to solve and you want to understand how ought you to write your SQL query. Alright, so we got two tables. One table is a trips table, the other table is a users table. And the trips table has six columns: ID, client ID, driver ID, city ID, status, and request at. And the data types are four integer data types, a enumeration data type, and a date data type, where the ID is the primary key of this table, and the table holds all taxi trips. Each trip has a unique ID, while client ID and driver ID are foreign keys to the user's ID at the users table. The status is an enumeration type of completed, canceled by driver, and then canceled by client. And then number two, the second table, what do we got? We got a users table, which basically has your column name. You have three columns, which are basically users ID, band, and role, with data types int and enumeration, where the user's ID is the primary key of this table. I'm trying to see if there's a connection between the trips and the users table. I don't necessarily see it right away. Oh yeah, basically it says each trip has a unique ID, okay, and the client ID and the driver ID are foreign keys to the user's ID at the users table. That's super important to understand when you're trying to solve this problem. So that if you want to do a join based off of the driver ID and client ID columns on the trips table and the user's ID column on the users table. Alright, so the table holds all users. Each user has a unique user's ID, and role is an enumeration type of client, driver, and partner. And band is an enumeration type of yes and no. And so it says the cancellation rate is computed by dividing the number of canceled by client requests with unbanned users by the total number of requests with unbanned users on that day. Write an SQL query to find the cancellation rate of requests with unbanned users. Both client and driver must not be banned each day between 2013 10:01 and 2013 10:03. And then you want to round the cancellation rate to 2 decimal points. You want to return the result table in any order. And then the query result format will be in the following example. So your output format is day and then cancellation rate. Alright, so I finally, after failing a few times while trying to solve this problem, I finally figured it out. So I'm just going to explain my thought process behind the trips and users problem. And so first you're going to of course, based off of your from clause or statement, you're going to extract data from your trips table and then inner join on the users table. twice using the U1 and U2 aliases, where the client ID or the driver ID is equal to the user's ID in the separate inner joins, and the U1 or U2 band columns are equal to no. So that way, yeah, you make sure that you negate any values where users are banned, so that you can make sure that so that would help in regards to calculating the cancellation rate. And then you want within the where clause for the requested ats column, you want the values to be between 2013 10.1 and 2013 10.3. And then you're going to group by, of course, the first column so that you can actually apply that round, the sum function, and then round. And then you're going to use a case when statement where the status is in between, or not in between, but within those two records, which is canceled by driver and then canceled by clients. This tuple, and then if that's true, then you're gonna return a 1. Otherwise, you return 0, and then you end. Then you divide by the count star, and then you use the round function to return your values to the second decimal place. And so after you do that, you run your query. Boom, you got your trips and users, and that'll basically return your date. And for each date, it'll return your corresponding cancellation rate in between the dates provided. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helps you in regards to your SQL interview prep. Hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.